There it is. World of Warcraft's most disappointing moment. So we're going to start at the beginning. Right there, dude. That's one. One of the mount off. No. Not looking for a girlfriend.
Disappointment. Sadness or displeasure caused by the non-fulfillment of one's hopes or expectations. Throughout World of Warcraft's history, there have been huge highs. From its launch in 2004, it soared to new heights with the Great Burning Crusade expansion, ultimately peaking in the Wrath of the Lich King, where it attained an all-time high of around 12 million subscribers. With every high, there's also a low, however, and the game has had a number of disappointing events in its 15-year run so far. Moments where fans' expectations were soaring in the heavens, but when the time came to deliver, they were left soured to not only World of Warcraft, but Blizzard Entertainment as a whole. In this video, we'll chronicle some of the biggest disappointments in the game's history.
That fucking picture, dude. I love that fucking picture.
In 2019, players enjoyed a trip to the past with Blizzard's official recreation of the game in its original state in 2004 to 2007, often referred to as vanilla. They were thrilled to re-experience the world as it once was, with all of the original classes. I still have the video of the live crowd reaction. I never uploaded it. Skills.
Ooh.
Talent systems.
Ranks.
They reminisced on the early days of raiding in particular.
Those were the days,
the maximum
boys.
Cap was 40 players.
Those were the days.
Such as looking for raid or LFR were entirely absent. A difficulty setting that's often seen as being too easy, requiring minimal effort or thought to complete it fully.
It's a good thing Classic is there.
With Classic having just one difficulty, there were no easy options, players thought. And just like the old days, only the most hardcore would be able to survive.
That's right. Players are garbage at the game. 6 days. 42-minute PWL. 19 man Onyxia. This isn't vanilla.
However, was that not only were these raids not as hard as they remembered, but they were rather quite easy.
Yeah, they were.
2004 to 2007 was a different time. It was during the dawn of the internet.
God, dude.
People had
Look
bad
at those
connections.
Nerds.
Video
All
sharing
of them are bald
websites
now.
such as YouTube or Pornhub didn't exist yet, or were still in their early stages. Database websites were extremely limited, as were add-ons, and a lot of the information and strategies for bosses were shared through word of mouth or online text guides. Combine this with the fact that the World of Warcraft was the first MMO for many people, and for some their first game period, set an unrealistic expectation of the difficulty of these old raids. We all know that the first time is the most awkward. It's a learning experience for everyone involved. For many, it was the beginning of a long and wonderful journey, and for others it lasted,
few days.
5 seconds.
Yeah, somewhere
but you've
around
heard
there.
it before. I don't need to go into specifics. The Molten Core, as well as Onyxia, were cleared within the first week by the Guild Apes. This is also taking into account the time it took to even level the characters, and many members weren't even level 60 yet.
This was really impressive,
the fact they did this. And that's not to compare the entire raiding scene to the most hardcore. But in general, coming from someone who had no life and raided back then, it's undeniably easier. Gear optimizations, rotation, optimization, loot distribution, add-ons, all of it. Everything's been optimized to such an insane degree that there's hardly anything hard anymore.
It's not that
there's anything wrong with that. I mean, what's the alternative? Suck intentionally? Guys.
Yeah. I think people do that. They play bad specs. That's what they do. Yeah, obviously the game is way fucking easier. Yeah, it's way fucking easier. Like, itemization makes it a little bit easier. I think MC got nerfed once. If they bring out TVC, I do hope that they make sure they release all of the bosses and everything with all of their pre-nerf values. Minus the Karazhan ones, because those were overtuned. Like, Nightbane was super overtuned. Maybe even Gruul was kind of overtuned. But besides that, like, I want to have everything with their original pre-nerf values. Maru? Yes, even Maru. I think Maru will be a lot easier now than it is. Minus Vash. See, I didn't do Vash whenever it just came out. And so I didn't do, actually, Karazhan hardly whenever it came out either. But I don't think that would be it. Unnerfed Kale. Yeah, put it out there. See what happens.
We're doing a little too well here. For the next fight,
I think they should have done that with
backpedal. It just comes with the
Cthulhu.
territory with recreating anything in life, really. You can never really truly recreate your very first time.
No, you can't.
And even going outside of optimization for a while, the fights themselves are rather straightforward compared to today, where you have multiple phases, on top of more complex rotations and everything.
Yeah, mechanics
It's
are
understandable.
nothing.
It was the early stages of raiding, before there was a set standard, but something that's aged pretty poorly. It's not bad, it's just easy. A lot of these fights feel like trash mobs. They go down faster than current subscription numbers. Only time will tell if the upcoming raids will share a similar fate to the players, as this video was made just after the re-release of the Blackwing Lair raid. But the knowledge and skill we've collectively accumulated over the past 15 years was something that was surely taken for granted by players.
Yeah.
And they were disappointed to realize that it wasn't the mechanics of the actual boss fights that stopped them back then, but rather our collective lack of experience with the game.
People sucked back then. Like, that's what it is. Oh god, Sylvanas.
Have you ever read a really bad fan fiction of your favorite TV show or anime?
Yeah, I called it Warlords
Oftentimes,
of
people will
Draenor.
fantasize a representation of themselves within these fantasy worlds, commonly referred to as self-inserts.
Yep.
A lack of skill in writing and storytelling often results in these characters being ultimately powerful and falling victim to common fictional tropes.
Yep.
No matter what seemingly insurmountable odds they face, they always seem to come out as the victor. Like when you played Cops and Robbers with your friends, and you get them, and that they claim that they have some invisible bullshit force field or something.
We can't beat the Hulk, man.
Enter Sylvanas Windrunner.
Yep. I am so tired of this bitch,
If not
man.
for having been established in the lore for many years, many would believe for her to
I
be
am
one
so
of these
tired of
characters.
her.
With the release of the Battle for Azeroth expansion, she's become a key player in the story of the game. As the new war chief of the Horde, she goes on a savage campaign, slaughtering many innocents along the way in a Disney-esque villain-like fashion. Murdering civilians, burning down capitals, betraying her own faction, executing comrades. The only thing that's missing on her bucket list is drowning a basket of kittens.
That's for Shadowlands. Have you guys ever noticed that almost every single female character in WoW goes through a crazy arc? You have Jaina, Sylvanas, Yrel. Like, I really, like, if you think about it, they all go through a crazy arc. Tyrande, yep, there you go. Ilaria, yeah, I mean, she literally got possessed by an old god. Nobody ever talks about this, you know what I mean? Ysera, yeah, look at that.
But surely this madness will come to an end. Surely, out of the millions of inhabitants of Azeroth, someone could put a stop to her reign of terror.
Yep.
Of course, it would be the entirety of the Alliance army, including Jaina Proudmoore and her magical boat, and also Anduin Wrynn, armed with Charlemagne. Or maybe the King of Furries, Gen Greymane.
Nope. Yep. Nope.
Well, if not them, it's definitely the combined might of the Archdruid, Malfurion Stormrage, and Tyrande Whisperwind.
Yep. Nope.
Well, maybe Sourfang?
Nobody thought
the
Saurfang
legendary
was
orc
going to come
warrior?
out ahead. He's like 80 years old. Nobody thought that was going to happen. Okay, dude.
No, all disregarded and dispatched, with a smile and just one single scratch. Heh,
Yep.
nothing personal, kid. Well, if not any of them, how about the King of all Undead?
Yep.
The ultimate evil jailer of all unliving in the entire world, and the focus of an entire 2-year expansion. In unending evil, the Lich King. And he's down. Seriously.
Like, I got it that, like, Bolvar is not as powerful as Arthas. But this was stupid. Like, this was stupid. I don't... See, Sylvanas' plans are so... They're so into... She's so secretive with her plans that the writers don't even know what she's going to do next. She tricks even the writers. And I don't know what the fuck to say about this, but I'm really upset about what happened with Bolvar. This was, I know I was, like, the cinematic looked cool, but I was so angry watching the cinematic. I was so fucking upset about it.
Seriously, he didn't even put up a fight.
No,
One of the most powerful beings since the beginning of the game's history didn't even get a single hit in, and was left crying on the floor over his broken toy.
Pathetic.
Essentially being toyed with the entire fight, as if it were an episode of Naruto.
Yeah.
Players for years have been eagerly awaiting the return of the Lich King, who was once Ner'zhul and then Arthas Menethil, and now Bolvar Fordragon. He was the focus of an entire expansion of what many consider to be the height of the game. Since the expansion's end, he's been the jailer of all undead in the world, lording over his kingdom in the Ice-Crown Citadel.
I was
Still
so
an ever-present
hyped,
threat,
man.
he
I
made
was so
appearances
fucking
during
hyped.
the Legion expansion, commanding the Death Knights of Azeroth to fight against the Burning Crusade. And
Yep.
It seemed like Blizzard had big plans for him. So when the cinematic for Shadowlands came out, and people saw him getting ready to face off against Sylvanas, they flipped out. Surely he would be the one to end her reign of terror. Undead King versus Undead.
And
But not only did he fail to stop her,
the thing
he got
is,
completely embarrassed.
this didn't even need to happen. The funny thing about it is they literally could have had Bolvar beat Sylvanas, and the same storyline could have happened. It's so fucking stupid. And people are like, oh, well, he didn't have the powers. Like, oh, really? So he just made that Blizzard because he's a paladin. Give me a fucking break. Yeah, she is a girl. That's true. I forgot about that.
I mean, was it really necessary that he looked to be on the verge of tears by the end of it?
Will be your prison.
This world is a prison.
Mom, it's not a phase. Go. 10 years. Players waited over 10 years to see one of their favorite villains make a return to the big screen, and this is what they got. It's like, geez, is he still level 80 or something? What's going on here? This isn't as much complaining
pretty
about
much.
Sylvanas as it is making one of the most storied villains in Warcraft history look like a chump. They explained in the lore just why Sylvanas is so strong.
Yeah.
She's made a deal with an unnamed
she
jailer in the
changes it a lot.
Shadowlands, where she grows in power as people die. But that doesn't mean it's good storytelling or that the fans have to
Still
like it.
stupid.
Ultimately powerful and undefeatable villains are shallow and boring characters, no matter the reasoning behind them. I mean, why do we have Sargeras banished right now? Sylvanas is so goddamn
that a
strong,
bit
just
bigger for
release
you
him.
guys.
Let her do her anime combo, and she'll surely dispatch him just as easily as the others.
Yeah, of course.
On the next episode of Sylvanas Ball Z, the time for games are over as our heroic
Oh my
heroine
God,
storms the
dude.
home of the dreaded Lich King.
I think he was
without
as
even
triggered
wiping
about
her
it as I
shoes.
was.
Little did he know, though, she came prepared.
Jesus Christ, man.
And remember, cool banshees don't look at explosions. Will anyone ever stop her? Does anyone even care anymore? Find out on the next exciting episode of Sylvanas Ball Z!
Fucking ridiculous.
At number 6, we have the disappointing moment when the Lich King was made into the Bitch King.
I'm not happy about it, man. Aww.
Stepping outside the game
I
for a
forgot
moment,
about
it's been
this
a pretty
one.
hefty past couple of years of scandals for Blizzard.
Oh,
I'll tell
God.
you what. It seems like every few months there's this huge controversy they're at the center at. Warcraft 3
Jeez.
Reforged, the banning of Blitzchung amidst the Hong Kong protests,
Yeah.
and the prize pool scandal. Since 2008, Blizzard has officially held a competitive esports event for World of Warcraft called the Arena World Championship, where teams of players square off against each other for prizes and glory in the game's arena mode PvP system. The prize pool for the winners ranged from $120,000 in 2008 to $280,000 in 2018, all funded by Blizzard themselves.
$280,000. Split 4 ways. So that's what, 100 and 140 divided by 2, it's 70,000. $70,000, about half of it's going to go to taxes for prize pool winnings. So you come out of it with about 40 grand. So you either can be a McDonald's manager or win BlizzCon. Split between all places? Wait, it's split between all places? 280K total. I don't know what I was thinking. You're right.
And since then, with the advent of Mythic Plus,
oh my God,
the addition of another event called the Mythic Dungeon International,
okay, then
also
just
with its own
part-time.
prize pool. For 2019, however, the stakes had been raised.
They sure had.
Blizzard announced the release of 2 toys in the World of Warcraft cash shop.
And we
if
all
players were to
wanted
buy
this.
them, 25% of the proceeds would contribute towards 2019's Arena World Championship.
25%.
And Mythic.
And I even defended this 25% number because that's the same thing that Dota used. I even fucking defended this because it was an industry standard. I'm mad.
Dungeon International, guaranteeing that at least 250,000 would go towards each event. So, this led players to believe that this would come out of Blizzard's end, and that the 25% from the sales of the toys would be added on top of that. However, when
Fucking
time
idiots.
came to announce the prizes,
Players
players were
are so
disappointed
stupid.
and outraged to learn that unlike every esport event previous to 2019, Blizzard had not funded their own prize pool,
Surprise!
and instead used the entirety of the toy sales to serve as a reward for 2019's tournaments, totaling $330,000 for each event.
And I gave them the benefit of the doubt with this. Remember whenever this happened, I remember very clearly, I was getting carried in BRD on my Warlock, and I was like, I don't know if this is true or not. And Snuts fucking messages me. Like, well, no, because I'm like, there's no way Blizzard can do something this fucking stupid. There's no way. There's absolutely no way. And you know what? Snuts comes on, and I was wrong. I was wrong. You still remember that? I remember everything, dude. Like, Sam Pass. Well, no, I'm not. Here's like a line of logic that I use, right? And so I have like a general like a way that I see the world and expect the world to go. And whenever things go outside of the window that I expect them to go in, right? Like too well or too badly, I assume something weird happened outside of just the normal situation, right? And it makes me question as to whether what I'm seeing is real or not. Okay, you see what I'm saying? That's autism? No, it's not. That's common sense. It's like if I randomly see something crazy happen, it's like, oh wow, an alien came down from space. Well, I'm going to just assume that probably didn't fucking happen. You know what I mean? Because it's outside of the normal window of what happens on an everyday basis and what my rational mind has led me to believe and expect will happen inside of the world that we live in. And so, like, I expect, I'm like, there's no way Blizzard would do this. Like, how could anybody say this is a good idea? Who's there at Blizzard sitting there like, yeah, so we're just going to take the money. Yeah. Fuck them.
Again, through the wording of the initial announcement, it was believed that Blizzard would put up $250,000 for each,
deliberately misleading.
And then 25% of the proceeds from the toy sales would contribute towards the prize pools.
Still play their game?
Miriam,
Yeah?
could you define the word contribute for us?
Contribute. To give or supply in common with others.
Oh, in common.
To give or supply in common with others.
I guess they let us
meaning
use the
not
venue
sole
for BlizzCon.
source of funding. It's like being invited to a party and everything's all la-di-da, and all of a sudden you're paying for everything. Oops. Sorry about that. Didn't mean to
Is that Ben
toy
Shapiro?
with you. Many believe that once they saw the success of the toy sales, they decided to save themselves some extra dough and put the
I know it's
responsibility
not,
of
it's a
funding
joke.
the prize pool of their own tournament on the player base. A sentiment that was later confirmed by participants of the tournaments. It felt as if the rug was pulled out from under them in a greedy move by a billion-dollar corporation to abuse the charitable nature of their own customer base.
Yeah.
And to save some money to pay all of their hardworking employees some extra... Oh, shit. Well, never mind that.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that was pretty bad. I think that the worst part about it is that the players were misled. If Blizzard had said ahead of time that they were just going to have that replace the prize pool, like, some people would have been disappointed about that, but nobody would have been, like, it would have been better. Like, if they had just said that at the beginning. But you know why they didn't do that? You know what I believe? Is because if they had done that, it would have encouraged less people to buy the toys because they wouldn't be taking advantage as much of good people's faith. Or people's good faith. Sorry, I fucking confused myself there. I think they intentionally misled people to allow them to buy the toys. And the funny thing about it is that they probably would have made more money if they just put in the $1 million, because now they can never do another crowdfunded event again because people are going to be super skeptical of it and nobody's going to buy them. They were keeping 75% of the money, and now the next time they do this, which is probably going to be never, they're keeping 0% of the money. It was such a stupid decision for them to do that. I don't. People still buy. A lot less people will buy, and people will actively discourage other people from buying. Short gains, that's all they care about. Hey,
coming in at number 4, we have the Battle for Azeroth expansion. The final patch,
just like the whole
8.3,
thing,
is finally out. We can
not
call
like
the expansion
one part. No, just the whole thing.
It's 2017. The Legion expansion is coasting along, doing fairly well. In fact, a smooth recovery from that expansion, and players are comparatively having a good time. BlizzCon rolls around,
Legion's pretty
as
good.
expected, we get a preview of the new expansion, the Battle for Azeroth.
Wow!
Now that Sargeras has been dealt with and his Burning Crusade over, the Horde and Alliance are at each other's throats, and the major features of the expansion will follow this theme. Engage in epic scenarios against the opposite faction, called Warfronts, in a game mode reminiscent of the old strategy games. It's all out war.
I was so hyped about this,
largely
dude.
over a new resource called Artifazerite.
I like how they just call it artifact
from
power
another
too.
major system
In like
called Island
interviews.
Expeditions, where you team up with 2 allies in a 3v3 supermarket sweep for as much Azerite as you can carry.
It is a
Players collect
supermarket
the special
suite.
resource to power up special armor pieces known as Azerite armor.
I like Azerite armor. I think
The
it's
developers went on to explain that we are to receive 3 different pieces of this armor, all layered with different tiers of special affixes.
cool. I
that
know
will
some
change the
people
game as
disagree
we
with me.
know it.
I like it. I think it's
The
cool.
more Azerite you collect, the more powers you unlock, creating layers of customization to
Doesn't mean I
ensure
want
that
it to
not one
continue.
player has the same experience.
I think the idea of it should continue though.
When the day came, players eagerly awaited to sink their teeth into this new, revolutionary, and it's just a bunch of passives. Increase your mastery. Versatility. There's an X chance to increase Y stat.
Yeah, some of the tier 3 stats are bad, but I think that Azerite armor improved a lot over the expansion. And some of the Azerite traits do change the way that you play the game. And while I don't have I don't like Azerite, do I like it more than tier gear? No, I do not like it more than tier gear. I would rather have tier gear than Azerite gear. That being said, I like the customization that Azerite armor gives you, but the way that it was implemented was bad and not player friendly.
You might find a power that makes you think twice about using a talent that you'd previously written off. And you will certainly find combinations that reinforce your favorite way to play your character.
Nearly every single one of these affixes would be boiled down to a simple DPS, healing,
I like this song.
or mitigation increase, and didn't
This
change
is a
anything
fucking
really.
jam.
What was promised to be a new and fresh way to customize your character ended up falling victim to the same problem the game has faced since its birth in 2004. There's no real choice because there'll always be a best. You had slight differences for AoE versus...
That's true, but like I don't think there's any system that Blizzard can ever do that's going to fix that. Like there's always going to be a best no matter what. Like corruption gear in a lot of ways kind of isn't like that though. Like I mean you can hate corruption gear all you want, but there are a lot of people that they want to use infinite stars. There are other people that want to use like stat boosters where it's like 12%. Other people want to use Twilight Devastation for like, you know, a 2-pack or something like that, or Hive Mind. Like fucking the corruptions actually is Blizzard's best shot that they've taken in the last 5 years to muddy the waters and make it harder to sim and just pick out what the best one is. Tupac? Yeah.
Single target for certain pieces.
Is
but they were
Tupac
few
still
and far
alive?
between, and
Yeah.
none really altered how you played the game as promised.
He's
It
in
really
Cuba.
just all boiled down to stay stationary and wait for procs.
Pretty
And
much.
that's the story of the Azurectile dysfunction. As for Warfronts, players were disappointed to learn that there was no PvP mode to be found.
Azurectile
An entire
dysfunction.
expansion based on Faction War offered a game mode
Okay.
where you could only face off against NPCs.
That's great.
And with a difficulty setting even easier than raiding in classic World of Warcraft. It's quite common, in fact,
Oh,
to
that
find
must be
players
my alt
just
there.
AFK auto-running into a wall.
Yeah.
It was nearly impossible
That's
to
all I
even
would do
lose the
too.
game mode. Nearly the whole team would have to be AFK.
I like how whenever they introduced Warfronts, and remember whenever we all got a raid together of people and we intentionally lost the Warfront. Before that, there was like, remember back in like fucking 2005, 2006, where people would talk about how to get Ashbringer or something like that, or some rare item in the game, and everybody had like a friend of a friend of a friend who had a story about it happening to them. I feel like that same mystique was built around losing a Warfront. That's how rare it was.
As for island expeditions, these were as advertised, but players saw little depth behind the changing environments and enemies, as each instance could be boiled down to a rush to get X Azurite before the other team. The experience was also hampered by the reward system, which was
What
mostly
reward
based off
system?
of RNG, and an insanely small chance to get a mount, which was the main reason for doing them other than that Azurite.
Yep.
Combining this with the advent of loot caches and Titan forging added even more RNG to an already overladen RNG loot system, and left quite a poor taste in people's mouths.
Fucking picture, dude.
Like biting into a chocolate to find a coconut. Credit
They're
to
not
Blizzard,
that bad.
these systems
They're not
as a
caramel
whole
either.
were received so negatively that they got makeovers in later patches. But all of this would only come nearly 1 year after the expansion's release.
See, like, that's the main thing that I don't want them to do in Shadowlands, because I feel like it's manipulative and intentionally disrespectful to players' time. I think if they want to introduce a system, if they introduce the system without obvious quality of life features, and then choose to withhold those quality of life features until later on, to where enough people cross a threshold to where they feel like it's useful to now introduce a quality of life feature to then re-incentivize people to use the system again, I'm going to be really upset. Like, that's going to be one of the only things that might actually get me to just like probably like not really give a fuck about the game, because it's just so I don't know, it's just so like on the nose disrespectful to players' time. Care about now? Yeah, I care about the game.
By this time, many players had already dropped the game, as the expansion's main features fell flat on their face when Blizzard failed to
That
deliver
picture,
on their
dude.
promises. And as for the dailies, oh boy, the dailies.
Yep.
What? I've talked about this before? Well, don't look at me. I gotta get my daily complaining in. It gives plus 100 depression. Some Azurite.
I don't think
But
the
holy
dailies are
mother
that
of God,
bad.
There's so much daily and weekly stuff in this expansion.
But the problem,
Here's
like,
a full
what he's saying now is true. It's not about the stuff. No, listen to what I'm saying. It's not that the 8.3 dailies are too much. It's that all of the dailies in the game that you're simultaneously expected to do are too much. That's the problem, in my opinion. Like, if I only had to do the 8.3 dailies and that was it and nothing else mattered, it would be fine. It's like an hour of time a day. I mean, you guys remember back in Burning Crusade, if you played back then, all the time, like, the first thing that you do whenever you log on is go around and do the Isle of Quel'Danas dailies. And, like, that was kind of fun. So it's not like, Ogre dailies, or whatever. An hour? I do them in an hour. Yeah, probably less than that, actually. So it's not like this is a new thing or anything like that. It's the fact that the responsibilities and things that you need to keep up with in BFA compounded on each other. And now, I remember I would have, like, whenever I was on break on streaming, I would probably spend, like, I've literally got a list right there. I'll show you guys. Like, why don't I just show you guys? Just a second. That's a list of things that I needed to do every day. Nazjatar and Horde, Mechagon, Arachnoid Harvester, Garrison Garden, Blacksmith Daily Crest, Kufan, Direhorn, Seething Shore, Battle for Nazjatar, and then the crates as well. So I literally made myself a list of all the things that I needed to do each day. And I didn't even put like 50, 70% of the things on that list. And I did even more than that. Like I would spend like fucking 5 hours a day doing WoW chores. It was disturbing.
List, in fact. We have daily world quests on 7 zones, a daily emissary, daily quests in Mechagon, daily quests in Nazjatar.
Oh, here we go.
Daily quests in the 2 assault zones.
See, none of those were on the
along with
list.
The daily mini vision, your daily mission table missions, your daily warfront contribution quests.
Yep.
And if you control the warfronts, daily quests in 2 more zones, a daily faction incursion.
Yep.
And as for weekly, we have the island expedition bar, world bosses in 5 zones,
Yep.
base BFA, 2 warfront bosses, Nazjatar and Azoth Assault. You have 2 warfront scenarios on 2 difficulties.
Yep.
You have the latest raid on 4 difficulties.
Yeah.
Your weekly greater assault bar, your weekly call to arms quests, your weekly PvP chest,
Yes.
your weekly mythic plus chest,
Yep.
your weekly adventure guide quest.
Yep.
Ooh, this weekly is to complete
20.
dailies. Nice. You also have your weekly against overwhelming odds quest if you're outnumbered. And finally, you have your weekly vision loot at multiple tiers.
Okay. That's only for an average player. For a loser like me, there's tons of other things that you have to do too, right? To get like all the completionism content as well. That's what's so crazy about it, is that you talk about like, this is what an average player does. I need to do this times 5. It's crazy.
The only thing that's missing are daily quests to complete dailies. Oh wait, those are emissaries.
Oh
There's
my
so many
God.
daily
I
and
never even
weekly
thought
tests
about it
to
like
win
that.
the game. It'll
Wow.
make your head spin. Nearly everything is tied to some sort of daily or weekly lockout that it starts to become a
Jesus
chore to do.
I
It's
mean,
an excuse
wow.
to get you to log in every day to feed into engagement metrics rather than from a
Yep,
place of
that's
fun
what I was saying
due to
earlier.
the failure of the previously mentioned features. The Battle for Azeroth is a lukewarm expansion at best, which tries desperately to maintain a player base with 400 forms of daily and weekly busywork to make up for its
Only
shortcomings,
400.
and it didn't
Nice.
live up to the standards and expectations set by Legion for many players.
Accurate.
RPG gaming, role-playing game, character
What's
development, progression.
Huh?
These terms are synonymous with the genre. Even
Not
before
anymore.
the advent of video games with role-playing
The only
game
thing that's
Dungeons &
synonymous with
Dragons,
the genre now
they've been a
is
core staple of every
microtransactions.
single RPG in history.
Sorry for
You
talking
create your
over
own
the-
character, your own story, and through a lot of time and effort, grow them in power, skill, or knowledge.
Ooh,
Whether
I
it's
remember
obtaining the
I
Master
did
Sword
that.
in
Yes,
The Legend
dude.
of Zelda, learning high-level spells in Final Fantasy, or gaining another skill point in RuneScape.
God, I love that
Character
game.
leveling and progression is paramount to any RPG in existence, MMOs
Secret of
included,
Mana.
and if you forsake it, you
I used to
forsake
love
the
that
genre
game,
as a
man.
whole.
Dylan stole it. He stole my game. I don't know where it is anymore. I'll have to text him, see what he does.
Enter the level boost.
Oh no.
It's 2014. The Mists of Pandaria expansion
Oh,
is out, and
no.
the game has been bleeding subscribers for the better part of 4 years.
God.
And Blizzard needs a way to recover financially. They had many avenues.
What a disaster
The return
that
to its
was.
RPG roots, as proven with the classic re-release, there's some
Yeah.
value in this approach. They could reverse the destruction of the loot system,
No,
maybe try to
no,
implement
no.
ways to make it more
Come on.
community-driven, or
Come
maybe all of
on.
the above. Well, the answer is none of the above.
There you go.
The answer was to forsake everything sacred to the RPG genre,
Because money
and that's
above
to
all.
buy progression. Throughout its lifespan, and with the ever-growing focus on the cash shop with services like race transfer,
Yep.
faction transfer, or cosmetics,
Faction,
Blizzard promised
like the race change, I don't care about. The level boost, in my opinion, I think that the faction change is more harmful and detrimental to the game than the level boost. I genuinely think that the outcome and the culture that the faction transfer created is, why do I think that? Oh, okay. And I'm only speaking from like a max level semi-hardcore perspective. The problem is because players are expected to kind of move factions, and if one faction is slightly balanced more powerfully than the other one, because the option to change is so easy, it immediately hurts the other faction in a massive way. And that's why you see now the Alliance Hall of Fame sometimes doesn't even get filled up for an entire tier. And that affects PvP massively. It affects PvE in an even worse way. And it has like a cascading effect. And that actually affects everyone's gameplay. The level boost effectively only allows the player to cheat themselves out of an experience. But the faction boost creates a culture and a society inside of the game that hurts everyone. That's why I think that it's more harmful. But I don't think either one is particularly good. If I had a wand, I would wave both of them away.
So that players would never be able to buy an advantage.
Fuck!
It's all cosmetic, or as harmless as a server transfer. Fast forward to the date of February 18th, 2014, a day that'll live in infamy because it's when Blizzard betrayed the RPG genre and began selling character progression.
Yep.
Called the Character Boost. Players would be able to pay Blizzard some money in exchange to boost any character to a desired level.
Yep.
Cash shops are the big ticket these days.
They sure are.
Free-to-play games roll in the dough. Mobile games, whose sole purpose is to drain your bank account, can make more than AAA releases. It's actually mind-blowing that World of Warcraft has the payment model of both. You have to pay a subscription, and it has an in-game shop with...
No, what do you mean you have to pay a subscription? You also have to buy the fucking game. It's buy to play, pay to play, with paid microtransactions.
Mounts, character services, level boosts, gold buying,
Jesus.
you name it. The paid level boost serves no purpose in an RPG setting other
Absolutely
than making
not.
money, and it acknowledges that you failed in creating a leveling experience that's fun and rewarding.
You make so much money
that
off
players
this.
would pay money to skip an important aspect in your game.
Jesus Christ.
You ever use Game Shark or Game Genie in an RPG game back in the day?
I did, yeah.
You level up to the max, you gain invincibility and every spell.
And then you quit the
It's
game
really
because it's
fun,
boring.
right? Well, it's fun for about 10 seconds because you realized you've earned nothing. There's nothing left to do but to bully every enemy in the game.
Yeah.
Because you skip past the main point of any RPG, and that's character progression and rich storyline.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine buying level boosts in Final Fantasy VII at the start of the game and skipping to Disc 3.
Yep.
But
That's the speed
what's
run.
that I hear you say? It's a bad comparison because one is single player and the other is multiplayer. Well, I agree.
Yeah,
It's even worse
it's-
because in a
that-
multiplayer scene,
there it
there's
is.
an inherent competitiveness tied to everything. In one way or another, you're competing against everyone else. No longer is it a goal to
Yep.
finish a story and get a credit screen, but rather to get the best gear and be better than everyone else. And when you start introducing ways to pay to get ahead of other players, you lose a big part of what makes MMOs special. Add on to that the ability to buy gold, and thus gear, and many other things you've
I feel like the problem, like that's the issue now, is that like, do you think we can ever really have the integrity of BOE items in a game again now that we have the WoW token? Because like, I like the idea of being able to farm gold and buy BOEs because it gives casual players a way to gain raid progression progress. But the issue now is that because you can just buy them, it muddies the water so much, and buying tokens is such a common and accessible thing. It's gonzo. Yeah, I mean, like, I wish maybe it would be better if Blizzard made it to where you can only buy like one a week. If you could only buy one a week, I would be a lot more okay with it. And like, actually, yeah, only a week. Yeah, one a week I think is reasonable. One a month. Listen, like, I mean, if you guys want to say one a month, I okay, that's great. But at least like one a week would be fine with me, and just see how it happens or see how it changes the economy. Cause I don't know. I feel like there's so much potential that you could have in the economy that you just lose out on whenever you take the integrity out of it. And I think that's what the WoW token really did. And that's why it was such a problem whenever they had the corruption gear, is because the integrity was completely broken with the game. And a game's integrity is ultimately what makes a game matter. It's like whenever you play a fucking BR, like think how many BR games has there been where a month after release, whenever you die, there's always a thought in your back of your mind, I wonder if that person was cheating. And whenever you have that thought in the back of your mind, that replaces the thought of how can I get better at the game? And it's an awful scenario to be in. And I think that WoW kind of has created it for themselves. Call of Duty Warzone? Well, yeah, it's happening in Warzone a lot now. It happened in every game.
Two key features in the MMORPG genre.
Integrity of the game is the only thing that really matters.
Solely for the sake of money. They add nothing to the game.
If it doesn't have integrity,
vital, important
then
aspects,
the accomplishments
and
mean
the game
nothing.
as a whole suffers under the influence of the mighty dollar.
Yep.
At number 3 on our list, we have when Blizzard forsook
It killed
the
PUBG,
RPG
it
genre
sure fucking
by
did.
allowing players to pay for progression. MMOs live and die on content updates.
Yep.
It's a big elephant in the room with Classic. Although successful right now, the big question is after the final raid tier, Naxxramas releases, what then? New raids?
BC.
Burning Crusade? Or nothing?
Yeah, let's see BC.
Even if
I'm
there's
ready.
no credit screen in any game, for most players, there's a foreseeable end where they consider it to be completed.
Yeah,
Maybe they
create the
achieve a
end.
certain rank in PvP, or they finish a gear set in PvE, and the only thing left to do is to move on to the next thing. For MMOs, I'm of course referencing expansions here, but the drought between the final major patch and the next big thing is critical. Just taking a look at the game's history here, between the final patch of Vanilla 1.12 and the Burning Crusade release, we have less than 5 months. This
My
is a
hair is
special
looking
case
bad today.
because we're going from a huge base game with 60 levels. Wrath was a little slower. The final major Burning Crusade patch was 2.4 in
And
March.
nobody gave a fuck about this. Do you guys remember this? Like, if you played at the end of BC, like, nobody cared, really, except for, like, Sunwell guilds and, like, some BT guilds that were stuck on Brutalis or something, and they couldn't figure out how to do Sunwell. Nobody cared, because the majority of the player base wasn't at that fucking guy. So it didn't matter how long the content drought was if the players never finished the content in the first place. I wanted TBC to last longer. Yeah, like we cleared Sunwell, but we got up to Felmist. I think we killed Felmist before 3.0 came out, and then obviously we just like fucking rolled it over whenever 3.0 came out. And I think they pugged it and they got it. I have to ask Takina. But before that, like, we had wanted to be able to finish the raid. And after nerf, no, we killed Brutalis pre-nerf. Like, I even have fucking screenshots of it. It was the first time I ever raided with my guild. It was a big deal to me. But besides that, like, even us, like, as a more hardcore guild, we'd raid like 4 or 5 days a week. And even we had more things to do in BC. That's the beauty of progressive raid content and progressive content, is that a new player coming into the expansion a year after it comes out has a year's worth of content. And now Blizzard just rolls that over every fucking patch. It's like they're deleting their own content.
2008.
I am
And the
triggered.
release was of course November of the same year, so less than 8 months this time. Okay, a little long players thought,
Yeah.
but workable. Especially considering how good the Burning Crusade was. Players didn't really mind that much.
Yep.
Maybe they had a hiccup in development, and surely they'll have mastered the process for the next one. Between the final patch of Wrath and the release of Cataclysm, players had to wait a whole year.
No. What do you mean is a year? It's 300. A year is 365 days, man. I hate this fake news, dude. MadSeason's just trying to push an agenda here. This is not a whole year. What do you mean? That's not a whole year? That's less than a year. I remember I made this joke about how you could literally have a kid and be doing ICC, like get a girl pregnant and be doing ICC, and have the kid and also still be doing ICC. And Zach, like a Mikkel Reevy, he reminded me, we have a mutual friend, Hayden. Hayden literally had a kid, got hooked up with his girlfriend, had a fucking kid. He was doing ICC whenever they were dating, and he was doing ICC whenever they were fucking having a kid, dude. It was the funniest shit ever.
Well, it is on such a grand scale. I mean, not only are we getting new zones, but all of the old zones are being reworked. And many of the
Cataclysm had a lot
current
of
systems
potential.
are also being changed as well. It's a big expansion with big ambitions, so surely the next one will be
Weapon
better.
skill wasn't that great.
Okay, 10 months for pandas.
Well, we had Diablo 3
Okay,
come
I
out
don't know
then,
what
so
that's
it was
about,
more okay.
But little did players know, they haven't seen anything yet.
Literal wrath, baby, yeah.
Or, well, maybe I guess they actually were used to seeing nothing at this point, maybe.
Yeah.
Just tapping their foot, taking in the wonders of furry Disneyland, waiting for the next big thing.
16. Was it? Oh, never mind. It was only
They would
14.
wait 14 months this time for...
With me!
Draenor.
With me! And I had no problem waiting. By the way, I had absolutely no problem waiting. Warlords of Draenor, like, I thought was going to be great. Siege of Orgrimmar was pretty good, and the end of, like, Mop got really boring, yeah. But it got boring a lot slower.
And after the final major patch of Draenor, 14 months for Legion. Although some may argue that Legion was at least worth the wait.
It was.
This was the 1-2 death punch that knocked out a large amount of the subscriber base, as the game was as stagnant as my sex life, and players were disappointed to learn that a long wait does not equate to a good expansion.
Yep. Oh, God.
Disappointment, sadness, or displeasure caused by the non-fulfillment of one's hopes or expectations. It's 2014.
Oh, God.
Players have suffered through 14 months of drought since the final patch for the Mists of Pandaria expansion. The longest
Literal
yet at this
shit in a
point.
bucket.
What a great expansion this must be. It
Yep.
looks awesome.
I thought it was
We're
gonna
going
be.
back to Outland. Well, Draenor this time actually.
I thought it was
before
gonna be the Hong
got
Kong
corrupted
thing,
and changed to
actually.
what we saw in the Burning Crusade. Ah, the Burning Crusade.
Yeah.
Thought by many to be the prime of the game. It had all of the conventions from Classic, except there was some semblance of class balance. Memorable raids, PvP. Okay, that was a pretty good 2-year prank they pulled with us on the Mists of Pandaria expansion, right
Yeah,
guys?
yeah.
A good old out-of-season April Fool's joke.
He's like,
But it's nice to
fuck.
finally get back to our roots. People were hyped. Don't believe me? Well, the
Must have been a
subscriptions don't
Nintendo
lie.
64.
Because at this point, the game had the biggest surge in subscribers. The highest it's been ever since it started.
Everybody thought it was
going to
be amazing.
Cataclysm expansion. Almost to Wrath levels, in fact.
Yeah.
Just the atmosphere at the time was something you had to witness.
It was
It was
fucking
announced
awesome.
at BlizzCon 2013, and people were ready.
I remember waking up and I watched the cinematic with my mom.
Listen to them. Yay, garrisons. Those sound awesome. You have your own
So
mining
good.
nodes, so you don't have to compete with other players. You have your own herb garden, so you don't have to compete with other players. You can make your own profession buildings, so you don't have to interact with other players. And you can run mobile gaming missions, and even recruit your own followers so that you can pretend that you have friends. After 2
I didn't really dislike the follower system. I just disliked that they made you do it. Like the the BFA follower system, I think is great. It's completely optional. There's no real impact that it has in the game. But it's something optional that players can do if they want. And that's completely fine. Like just add in something for people that like being able to micromanage the different units and followers. Like that's cool. I have no problem with that. But in fucking WoD, you had to do it for the legendary.
lukewarm expansions at best, players were ready for a return to their roots.
Yep.
The good old days, some called it. Troubles arose right from launch, however.
Oh, what do we got here?
Just like the old days.
Oh, all the shit that I fucking play on offline again.
Not that this is really on Blizzard, but they came under a distributed denial of service
Yeah.
attack.
So I remember this happened to me, is that I was the first warrior, like one of the first warriors on the server, and like I was in like I think the top 10 people to like hit 100 on my server, and I log off and I log back on, and there was a fucking 20 like fucking hour queue. There's a 20-hour. Oh, it's a cap? You want a real cap for that? That was the worst I'd done in multiple expansions. The past 3 expansions, my group has been realm first. So, I mean, you can just go literally watch the VODs or look it up. Like, we've been realm first every fucking time. So, being number 10 was actually a downgrade to me.
commonly referred to as a DDoS. The act of flooding a service
Yeah, I
with so much
streamed it.
artificial traffic, and that the servers get overloaded with lag, and they crash, and lag, and crash.
Dude, like the loading
Nope.
screen, or
There
sorry,
we
the
go.
login screen was awesome
Oh,
for WoD.
shit.
I liked it a lot.
Really?
Really?
The launch was the worst
God.
in the game's 10-year history at that point, and it took several days until things finally stabilized. Once players got in, however, what awaited them was a lackluster expansion at best.
Yeah.
The garrison system just
No
isolated the player
in-game
base
at
from each
all.
other. You had few reasons to leave it,
Yeah.
and the world was just empty.
There's nothing
A
to
problem
do.
that arose from the garrisons themselves, and also the massive hemorrhage of subscribers due to the sparse and sluggish release of new content. The
Don't
entire
forget the
expansion
selfie
had
patch.
only 3 raid tiers throughout its 2-year run. Many features ended up being scrapped due to time constraints.
I heard that Heimdall was supposed to be its own raid. I talked to somebody who told me that. And the thing is with WoD, like why I really think WoD deserves to be number 1 here, is because of everything that it could have been. Because it's not World of Warcraft's biggest fuck ups, it's World of Warcraft's biggest disappointments. And the fact is that WoD Heimdall was a raid. Oh, sorry. What I meant by own raid is that it would be its own raid tier. And not like basically Heimdall and Blackrock Foundry shared a raid tier, even though almost all of the gear from Blackrock Foundry replaced the Heimdall gear. I didn't say that correctly. But the issue with WoD is that it could have been the return to form that we were all looking forward to. And it's a huge disappointment that it didn't happen, because Blizzard had an opportunity to rewrite a lot of the history and make the game amazing.
I won't go over all of it, as it's a bit much, and this
You guys
video is
are
already
funny.
like 30 minutes long. Ah, screw it. Major cities were replaced by small footholds outside of
I
the
forgot
Ashran
about
Island.
that. Yep.
Cut scenarios, a new arena system was scrapped, pet breeding, which I can't talk about on YouTube, multiple garrison locations throughout Draenor so you could play with yourself wherever you wanted, abandoned storylines, including an appearance from Medivh, class accessories, a transportation system with a Grimrail depot, since they originally weren't planning on adding flying. That changed once the 5 people still playing threatened to quit. A Zangarmarsh zone, which they cleverly just turned into a sea. In fact,
The
multiple
Zangar
entire
water.
zones were scrapped, along with the whole raid tier. You
Oh,
know that
great.
giant bubble in Talador? That was supposed to open up at some point, but something suddenly came up.
Yeah.
You can find an Easter egg in your garrison graveyard. Here you'll find the burial site of Ray D. Tier. Player housing has always been a huge request,
Yep.
and the common excuse to not bring it to the game is that it would require so much work that they would have to skip an entire raid tier. A funny little reference, but maybe closer to the truth than we think. And consider that
I'd
all of
say
this
so.
was after a 14-month wait. The joyful cheers of glee quickly soured once players saw the expansion for what it was, and as of the game's 15-year run so far, it remains to be the biggest disappointment. They broke records
Oh
on
my
release,
God.
selling 3.3 million copies, but within a few
Okay.
months, subscriptions dropped back down to 7.1. In the second quarter, there were 5.6, which was the lowest since its initial rise in 2005.
Do you remember like whenever I made
And
the
in
video? I
November
want
of
to show
the
you guys a
same
video
year,
after this.
they had stopped releasing how many subscriptions they had in shame, stating that there are, quote, better ways to gauge success.
Yeah, like by microtransactions.
Yeah, you know, the Detroit Lions aren't actually a bad team, you guys.
We just
You know,
don't judge
scores and
success
Super
based
Bowls,
off of
I think
wins.
we're just so archaic in determining what makes a good team.
Yeah.
There are better ways of measuring success. I mean, come on.
0
From
and
now
16.
on, the best team in the NFL is the one who sells the most jerseys. And as for the content that was patched in, well, it sucked. Guys, everybody hates garrisons. They say it feels like a single-player game, and they can't stand it. What do we do? Ooh, I know. How about another garrison system? Brilliant.
What? Oh my god, I
You
forgot
wanna
all
know
about the
worst thing,
the
though? It's that
shipyard.
financially, it was hugely
Oh
successful.
my god.
The level boost was introduced in late Pandaria.
Wow,
So Draenor
I
was the
forgot
first
all about
expansion
the
where it was really rolling
shipyard.
for the full duration. I'll bet you BFA was also a huge financial
Oh, no.
success due to the same thing. And also that wombo combo of allied races
Mm-hmm.
and paid race changes they have going on.
How convenient.
It's a shame. People used to go to these conventions with huge expectations.
Yeah.
Blizzard as a company was one of the few bastions left in gaming, They seem to put their fans first.
You guys take care of us, man. You guys really take care of us, man.
They ran on credit.
God,
they could seriously make a game about a walking turd, and people would have bought it. What was once a company held in the highest regards by some of the most passionate and loyal fans in existence is now met with pessimism and low standards by the very same people.
Alright, MadSeason, like, let's be real. People thought the game sucked in 2005, too. I mean, everybody always thought the game sucked. Like, you can find people that say the same thing nowadays about, about the current game. Like, WoW has always been dying since before it even came out. WoW was dead before it even released, okay? But the difference is that they weren't wrong. Like, or sorry, they were wrong then. The game was good. That's why people continued to keep playing it. But now, they're not wrong. It's like if you go and you tell somebody else their game sucks, like go tell a Final Fantasy 14 player their game sucks, and they're going to try to like eat your ears or like bite your ears off or something like that. You go tell somebody about Overwatch being shitty or something like that, and they'll accuse you of being racist. If you tell somebody that whatever your fucking game is, you know, Counter-Strike sucks, they'll just say it's just because you have bad aim. But if you tell somebody that plays WoW that their game sucks, they'll agree with you. That's the difference.
It's almost too much to keep up with.
Yep.
In the making of this video, the whole Warcraft 3 Reforged fiasco started up, and people are pissed they paid $30 for what's basically a texture mod with updated DRM. Hey, at least all of the bugs are new.
It's a big mischance on these Dragonhawks and a disconnect.
A disconnect.
I'm gonna assume Thorzain dropped, but I feel like Moon was on the way to holding this attack.
Uh-oh.
Ooh, wow. You're benched. What's this? And looks like another drop just happens. Oh wow.
And that's with delays in development, by the way.
Oh wow.
You know, they just wanted to put on that good old Blizzard polish. As time goes on, the benchmark for disappointment seems to be becoming lower and lower, as controversy after controversy transpire in one of the biggest rise and falls in gaming history. It's a sad tale, but maybe this is just a low in the company's history before a soaring high. Or maybe we're just setting ourselves up for disappointment.
I don't know. I mean, like, here's the thing, is that it's like every company nowadays is a fucking disappointment. Like Bethesda, you know, like every company sucks somehow. The only companies that are good are companies that make one game. If you make one game, or maybe CD Projekt Red, okay, that's a good counter. But besides that, I feel like if you make more than one game, you're gonna have some problems. Rockstar? Well, weren't people really mad about Rockstar working people to death in fucking Red Dead Redemption 2? I remember that being a big thing. And From Software, okay, you know what? Yeah, you guys are coming up with some other exceptions. I guess, you know, maybe I am wrong about that. But I feel like Blizzard can bring it back. Like, they can bring it back whenever they want. They can bring it back whenever they want. Just start making good games again. It's easy. Just make good games and everybody will be happy. Just make the games, people like them, respect the players, boom, it's done. Problem solved. Game is happy. Players are happy. I want to show you guys. So I remember whenever this fucking drop for WoD happened. Where is it? This one right here. I don't know if you guys watched me back then. Asmongold, WoW, sub numbers, WoD.
What's up, y'all? It's me, it's your boy Asmongold, and today we're going to talk about the fact that in the first quarter of 2015, World of Warcraft has lost 2.9 million subscribers. And so just to put that into perspective for everyone here, that means that in a 3-month period, they've lost over 1/4 of their entire subscriber population. And you know the only real question I have to ask here is anyone really surprised? Is anyone really surprised whenever people decide that they're not going to pay money to play Farmville anymore? Is anyone really surprised when people get tired of running the same treadmill on 4 different difficulties? Is anyone really surprised that people get burnt out of an MMO that you don't even need to interact with another player in order to kill the last boss of the game? It is a huge disappointment to me. It's a huge disappointment to a lot of other people. Like, if you go to Twitch TV, look guys, if you want a comparison here, RuneScape has more viewers than World of Warcraft, okay? I don't really think that I need to say anything more in this video, but it's going to be a little bit longer. That's just...
I was pissed. I was fucking pissed. And the fact is, whenever I wasn't streaming, that happened. Like, we would literally see times where, like random fucking games. Like, let me see. We'll see if I can find it here. So, WoW has 97k viewers, and, like, let's subtract, how many do I have? Like, let's say 50,000, right? And so 47k. Like, we'd be getting beat by Animal Crossing. Like, we'd be losing to Animal Crossing. We would lose to this Teamfight Tactics. We'd lose to fucking poker. It's embarrassing, guys. It really is. And there would be times where, like, like, Smite would be ahead of WoW randomly. Like, let's say Mizkif played Smite or something like that, and it's beating WoW, beating World of Warcraft, GeoGuessr, you know, something like that. FIFA, FIFA, and Castro is offline, and FIFA's still beating WoW. Like, I saw that, I had to take a nap.